Hey monsters! Thanks for tuning in to Murder News, the true crime cult for the latest breaking news, murdery memes, TV reviews, podcast recommendations, and all things spooky. We've really got a thing for baby ghosts and true crime, and we think you might too. So you're officially invited to join our true crime cult where we sit around and talk about murder. I'm television's Aurora Katie.
And I'm Angelina. Cults are no fun alone, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell all of your true crime friends. This is the Week in True Crime.
Murder news.
There's been some major updates in the TikTok Suitcase murder story, and I've learned so much about the twisted backstory that I want to share with you too. On June 19th, TikTok user Henry posted a video captioned, "Something traumatic happened that changed my life." That video has since had over 23 million views. A group of friends had set out on a random adventure that day, triggered by the Randonautica app, which I've just recently gotten into myself and can't stop telling all my friends about. The app's creators set out to inspire you to dig deeper and investigate your surroundings, considering things like synchronicity and coincidence. You set an intention for your adventure while the app generates a random GPS coordinate for you to explore. Henry and their friends found a suitcase near their GPS coordinate on Elke Beach in Washington. They filmed a video of themselves checking out the suitcase, which they first joked might be full of money. As they opened the suitcase, they were overwhelmed with a bad smell and decided to call the police to verify whether this could be a dead body or just old food. Police quickly arrived on the scene and found another suitcase nearby, confirming that both contained human remains. The King County Medical Examiner's Office declared the cause of death for 35-year-old Jessica Lewis to be multiple gunshot wounds. Her boyfriend, 27-year-old Austin Cash Wenner, was killed by a single gunshot. They were both dismembered and placed into those two suitcases that washed up on the rocky coast of Seattle. Family members said Jesse and Cash had been together about 8 years and described them as just nice, normal people. Cash loved campfires, dogs, and country music. Jesse was a loving mother of 4 who worked at a nursing home. Jessica Lewis's Aunt Gina described her as a ray of sunshine. Gina also set up a GoFundMe with the goal of offering a $10,000 reward to find the couple's killer. The viral TikTok video was finally taken down just the other day in response to pleas from the victims' families. Meanwhile, police have arrested and charged the couple's landlord, 62-year-old Michael Lee Dudley, with 2 counts of second-degree murder. Dudley was arrested last Wednesday at his home in Burien, about 10 miles from Seattle, and a witness who moved into a room in his home in June reported several suspicious details to authorities, including that Dudley's glasses were broken and he had some scratches on him. Jessica Lewis and Cash Wenner had been the room's previous tenants, and they had had some trouble paying Dudley the $1,500 a month rent. The witness described seeing a mess of clothing with a hand sticking out in the house while they were moving in, and seeing Michael Lee Dudley laying out garbage bags across the basement floor. When police later visited the house with a warrant, they found bullet holes, spent rounds, and blood in the room that the couple had been renting. A neighbor said they had heard a loud argument in the house on June 9th, which was followed by the sound of several gunshots. Jessica's Aunt Gina described the landlord as a complete psychopath who killed his dog in front of Jesse and Cash just to get a reaction. She said he would often break their car to prevent them from going out and place trackers on their car to spy on them. Dudley's daughter filed a sexual abuse restraining order against him in 2018 for repeatedly drugging and sexually assaulting her since age 10. She also claimed that he would often take his gun out and threaten to use it. Michael Lee Dudley is being held at the King County Jail with his bail set at $5 million. He's expected to enter a plea at his arraignment on September 8th.
We have some bad news for another Fort Hood soldier, 23-year-old Sergeant Elder Fernandes. Elder was last seen alive on Monday, August 17th in Kylie, Texas, and his family reported him missing the following Wednesday when they were unable to get a hold of him. If If you haven't been following Elder's case, I highly recommend listening to episode 41 of Military Murder, as the host, Mama Margot, did an awesome job of piecing together the timeline of his disappearance, and we'll be referencing some of her research today. We have linked to her episode along with our other sources, including People, KBTX, and Insider down below. Elder Fernandes was a chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear specialist at Fort Hood, and trouble started for him when he was sexually abused by someone seemingly in his unit. According to his family, he was abused by someone while working in the supply room at the base, but it's unclear what the abuse entailed or who the alleged abuser was. The abuse was categorized as abusive sexual contact by the unit sexual assault coordinator. The Army defines abusive sexual contact as either touching directly or through clothing of the person's genitals, anus, groin, breast, inner thigh, or buttocks, or as touching directly or indirectly of any body part, if that touching is with the intent to arouse or gratify a person's sexual desire. We do know that Elder was then moved to a new unit either by his request or the unit sexual assault coordinator. We don't have information about when the sexual abuse took place or whether any disciplinary action was taken against his abuser, but we do know that he was then hospitalized for a supposedly unrelated incident from August 11th to 16th. The cause of the hospitalization is still unknown. On August 17th, a staff sergeant from his unit picked him up at the hospital and dropped him at his home in Kylene, Texas. The staff sergeant is the last person to have seen him alive. Elder had roommates at his home in Kylene, but he'd also recently signed a new lease to a place. Elder never seems to have moved into his new place, nor did he pick up the keys. His car was found in a parking lot of the unit with all of his belongings inside. If that sounds familiar to you, it's actually pretty similar to Vanessa Guillen's story, who also disappeared from Fort Hood on April 22nd, had also been sexually abused by someone at the Army base, and also had her car discovered with her belongings at Fort Hood. After Elder's mother was unable to reach him, she flew from her home in Brockton, Massachusetts, to Kylene to help search for her son. Unfortunately, Elder's body was found near Salmons Park in Temple, Texas, near railroad tracks, hanging from a tree. A backpack with his driver's license was found at the scene. Authorities have stated they do not suspect foul play in Elder's death, but an autopsy was still ordered. This sounds incredibly suspicious to me, especially in light of all the recent mysterious murders of soldiers from Fort Hood. His family also suspects there's more to this story, and his uncle John Siqueira said, "There's something that made this happen. Somebody did something to harm him." We'll be continuing to follow the story, so be sure to keep an eye out on murdermurder.news for updates.
This week, we're watching Allison on Amazon Prime. If you're a fan of I Survived or just survivor stories in general, stop what you're doing and stream this show. Maybe after you finish watching us. Allison tells the story of Allison Botha, who was brutally raped, disemboweled, and nearly decapitated in Port Elizabeth, South Africa in 1994. Allison manages to survive this horrific ordeal, and this documentary tells her story of surviving, healing, and moving on with her life against all of the odds. We definitely want to give a trigger warning, as Allison goes into great detail about her attack, but the majority of the show is surprisingly uplifting. Be sure to check out Allison on Amazon Prime and let us know what you thought of her story in the comments below.
Did you get a chance to watch this yet?
I didn't. I'm watching it tonight. I'm both very excited and apprehensive. I know you said it's incredibly brutal at the start, so getting over that hump is going to be a thing, but I'm wowed just by your reviews that it's more of an incredible story even than Mary Vincent, which was a really intense survival story.
Yeah, it's really similar to the type of story of Mary Vincent's, and I have just been in such awe about her survival story, so this was very near and dear to my heart in relationship to that. I have a really strong stomach for pretty gruesome descriptions. It's maybe not necessarily my thing that I seek out, but the show was only an hour long, which seems like it would go pretty fast, and I kept having to pause it every 5 minutes and take a break, take a drink, manage myself and kind of get back into it because it was really engaging and I wanted to finish it. But Wow, it's a rough ride. I cannot believe what she managed to live through. Like, humans are just so incredible. It's fascinating. It's really good. I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's just an hour long, because if it was longer, especially if it was like a longer series or something like that, I don't think I would be brave enough to tackle it. But at an hour long and then it gets really uplifting, that I can handle.
Yeah, she's a pretty amazing human. Like, to have gone through all of that, like it reminds me a lot about like our interview with Kathy Kleiner.
Oh, yeah.
And how, not that like you're responsible for turning your trauma into something positive.
No.
Like, you're absolutely like.
But
don't
when you
have to
do,
become
it's
this
like
uplifted person, like whatever, if you go through something like this. But like, it's so incredible to me because like I'm so negative about everything, and it's like, wow, like.
Yeah, I know.
So amazing.
Me too.
Like,
There's so many.
One of my favorite humans. I'm so impressed with Allison. It's just incredible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it's a survivor story and it's like, oh, I would have just laid down and cried like a baby, and like they managed to get through that and so much more.
Like, who has that much will to live?
Not me.
Not me neither. We are so excited to have Jessica and Tara with us from this week's favorite podcast, Three Spook Girls. Three Spook Girls is the podcast where two ghoul friends talk about all things true crime and paranormal. Jessica and Tara, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you both doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for coming. I love your show so much.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we are so excited when you asked us to come on. So super excited to be here.
Yes. And we were all just talking before this. This is such a funny coincidence. So the three of us happened to go to an event back in February for the Forensics Files 2 premiere, where we like sort of met and were in the same room together, but we already were friends and we didn't know it. We didn't remember.
Yeah, that night was so much fun and it was such a whirlwind. We met so many people. So it was probably like, oh my gosh, it's nice to meet you. And then like literally was steered to someone else, like meet this person. And you're like, hi. So great though.
It was so
definitely was.
Yeah, there were like so many like true crime personalities in one room. Like it was like the true crime ball.
Kind of was. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
And I did not mind.
Oh, it was so much
great.
fun.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to ask. So the name of the show is Three Spooked Girls. Is there a third ghoul friend in the mix, or is this like a ghost personality on the show? Who's the third?
So when we first originally started the show, we had a third co-host. Some life event happens and she had to take a step back, and we loved the name already and we're really into it. So Tara and I both have this like love obsession of the Bell Witch, Kate. So we kind of threw her into the mix. So she is our third co-host. She helps pick our drink each week. So
I love that. She's there in spirit.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Literally.
Spirits.
Yeah, she's definitely one of our favorite ghosts. So we were like, yeah, she's in our logo and everything. We love her.
That's so great. So I was wondering, how did the two of you meet, and what inspired you to start a podcast together?
Oh, so we met a long time ago. Tara and I have been friends for like what feels like an entire lifetime. And we met through a mutual friend, and literally we just, I don't know, it's so weird. We became like family really quickly. And honestly, the podcast was Tara's brainchild. So I'll let her tell how it all came about.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I have to tell a little backstory on that. 2 years ago, it was this month. It actually was like our other anniversary was a couple weeks ago. We went to Disneyland for Jessica's bachelorette weekend. And this was probably, we talk every day, but this was the first time I had seen her in person in a really long time. And I was like, this is the best time for me to ask this. Like, if she wants to do it. And I chickened out. And we even sat at the airport before each of us left in Long Beach together for like an hour and a half or so. And I still was like, nope, I'm not bringing it up. So I brought it up like the day or the next day after we both like recouped from traveling. And I just texted her and asked her, because we always talk about true crime and paranormal stuff like all the time.
Mhm.
And I've been an avid podcast listener since like 2017, 2016. So I was like, why don't we try it? Why don't we do it? And then here we are.
That's great. And I'm so glad that you did start it, because one of the things that's really great about your show is that y'all have been doing it for a while, for like at least like a year or two, right? A year and a half, maybe?
We're coming up on our 2-year anniversary on September 17th is our official 2-year.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And I feel like sometimes when you discover a new podcast, it's great, but there's like 10 episodes and you're like, what am I going to do with that? Like,
Right.
I can like really dive in, but like y'all have such a wealth of cases and such you've covered. It's great that you can like really dive in starting at the beginning. So very cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Yeah.
And so what is your spooky origin? What got you into true crime or the paranormal in the beginning? Were there TV shows you watched as a kid? Was there a hometown murder? What got you started?
Well, for me, it was actually, for true crime, it was definitely Forensic Files, because I would go visit like my grandparents, and my grandmother would watch it all of the time. So I would watch it all the time with her, and I loved it. But I think for paranormal, actually I saw this, it was the perfect quote. It was off TikTok, and someone was like, people don't understand why we're obsessed with it. It's literally like our TV shows as a kid, like Are You Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps, like they were all around like these scary true crime stories. So it was like, of course we're obsessed with it when we're adults, because that's what we were fed as children. And I think I loved the Goosebump books. I loved the TV show. And I think, yeah, I mean, the town I went to high school in had the case where the woman, Colleen Stan, where she was like kept in the box under the bed. And so like as a teenager, I went to school with like one of her relatives, and then also, or one of the guy's relatives, I should say, not her relatives. And then in high school, we were dared to like, you would dare each other to go into the house because it was abandoned, like to go down to the basement. So I've definitely done that, but like PSA, don't do that because that's breaking and entering, and I could have gotten in a lot.
Right. But what a cool story to tell now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now, but like responsibly, I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't tell kids to break into abandoned homes.
I feel like times were different then, maybe. Like, definitely don't. If you're watching this, don't break into a house. But also very cool that you did.
Oh my gosh. So for me, it's pretty similar. I feel like most 80s and early 90s kids, we kind of get grouped together. Like, this is what happens to get us into it. So my great grandma, I used to go to her house like every weekend, and they were obsessed with unsolved mysteries and America's Most Wanted. So we would like sit down, eat ice cream or whatever treat, and watch that all the time. And I would just start to ask to watch it, because I think my grandma got a little worried, like, oh, is this too scary? Because I was really young, but I loved it. And for paranormal, sometimes they have kind of like spooky-ish stuff on that. But for me, I'm like one of the youngest cousins in my family. So I had a lot of boy cousins, and they made me watch horror movies at a very young age. So that got me into spooky stuff.
Right.
And yeah, and just things like that. I think it's a lot of like TV and media and stuff is what drew me in initially.
Awesome. So I love all the stories that you cover, and I really like that you do, like we mentioned, not just true crime, but you also do paranormal, which is something I'm very interested in. And I recently listened to the episode you had on the Stanley Hotel. And this is especially interesting to me because I was recently actually, we had Tasha from Sinister Silhouettes, the podcast, on our show, and somehow the Stanley Hotel came up for both of us, and we're talking about it, and we both realized that we didn't know anything about it. We're like, is it real? Is that Stephen King? Like, we don't know what we're talking about. Like, how do we find ourselves here? And so when I saw the episode come up on for your show, I was so excited to listen to it because it's a fascinating story, and all of those things are true. It is a real place that you can go visit, and it sounds very haunted and awesome. So everybody listen to that episode. But out of all of the cases and out of all the paranormal stories that you've covered so far, which one has been your favorite that you've covered?
The paranormal? Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, Lizzie Borden is kind of like both true crime and paranormal. And that was kind of our first step into true crime, because at that point we had been strictly paranormal before. And I would say that I love the story. I watched like the cheesy Netflix series that they did with, I think, Christina Ricci is in it. And it's amazing. Like there was a movie and then they turned around and made a series. I was like eating it up, and I was like, this is amazing. So I love that. But also, the Bell Witch, like she's, for me, it's such a great story. I mean, she's literally the craziest little witch ever. Like she killed a man just because she didn't like him, but as a ghost. So it's like so much respect, because she thought he was, in my opinion, I think she thinks he was abusive, and she was like, I'm gonna take you out. And I don't know, I'm like,
I don't quite, can you give us a quick synopsis of who the Bell Witch is for anyone that's not familiar?
There's this woman who died in this house in, I think it's Tennessee, and someone's probably like, it's this, in case I'm wrong, sorry. And she died there, and she was haunting it, and the Bell family moved in because it had like a bunch of land and things like that. And the dad was not exactly the greatest person. So she was kind of protective over the wife and the children, but she always wreaked havoc on him, like poltergeist status. And like Jessica said, the town knew all about this. Like it blew up, and there was all these crazy phenomenons happening, and they essentially like deemed that the Bell Witch killed him. And it wasn't his wife or anybody else, it was her. So, and There's also a very creepy Bell Witch cave that's on the property. And I'm pretty sure, so if you like Ghost Adventures, pretty sure Zach and them have went to it. So definitely look for that.
Yes, Zach has been, because we made the joke that they're like, oh my gosh, this rock was, and it was like they just turned and we're like, you're kicking rocks. Stop kicking rocks.
Right.
Like it's you who's making the noise.
That's awesome. And how about for you, Tara? Do you have a favorite case you've covered? And it can be paranormal or true crime. Either one's fine.
So my paranormal ones are pretty much the same as Jessica. So for true crime, I really enjoyed and was proud of our research and everything of our Zodiac Killer series. We did a 3-part mini series on that. That's the longest mini series we've done. Usually we do like 2-parters. And I had always kind of known about, like I'd known the story, I knew what happened, but I didn't know like deep details. So that one was really fun for me to do. And then I always recommend our yogurt shop murders that happened in Texas. People either know everything about it or know nothing. And it was a really good episode that we did, I thought. So those are probably my top 2.
That's great. And I'm from Austin, where the yogurt shop murders happened. And I know very little. So I'm going to have to go back and listen to that, because I should be embarrassed as an Austinite to not know more. Well, it's been so great having you ladies here. Can you let our viewers know where they can find you on social media?
Yeah. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our handle for that is at 3 Spooked Girls, or we also have a Facebook group, which is just a fun community, and it's not just paranormal and true crime, it's positive stuff too. People post their pets and great stuff. That is 3 Spook Girls Official.
Awesome. And don't forget to subscribe to 3 Spook Girls wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a single episode.
All right, we are having a big giveaway, and you could win a big basket of murder merch just for registering at the murdermurder.news commune. You could win this Murder Murder News tote bag and t-shirt, this Talk Murder to Me mug from Mug Matters Studio, a killer necklace from Forensic Miles, a Stay Spooky shirt in any size you like from Stay Lucky Boutique, this Son of a Witch zip pouch from DeKaylee Shop, and a Good Wine and True Crime sticker from Lacey Olson. All of this awesome murder merch is worth $150 with no purchase necessary. All you have to do is go to murdermurder.news to register your account and let us shower you with true crime presents. We will have 2 winners, one in the US and one in Canada, and we'll announce the winners live on our channel in October. We love reading your comments, so long as you aren't a troll. And we wanted to thank Cower's Life for commenting that Susie Zhao's story was so sad, and she hopes justice is served for the crime.
Thank you to Fiona Gallagher, who commented that she was watching last week's episode, and her husband heard us say, straight white cis men are the worst, to which he replied, true. Accurate.
Thanks so much for tuning into This Week in True Crime with Murder Murder News. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below, give us a thumbs up, and tell all of your true crime friends.
If you just can't get enough true crime, join our commune at murdermurder.news for our Monster Book Club and cold case solving groups. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. See you next week.
Bye.
Murder, murder, news.